Okay, so this is Ashley with Airborne Canine, and this is going to be Popeye's reference video for your homework this weekend. The first thing we always start with is going to be heel, and the reason why we do that is heel takes the longest. So the first thing I want you to practice when you go home is heel. So this is the ideal kind of picture of where we want Popeye is on your left-hand side, and you want to feed him in that left-hand position. Occasionally he does kind of lag when you feed him. Just try not to push your hand back with him when you do feed him in this position. At this part of the video, I have the camera in my hand, so I can't click for this, but you do want to be marking with your clicker every time he's in the right position. Now if you notice right there, he did get a little bit distracted, and all I did was I turned around. So anytime he gets distracted, or if he starts to get ahead of you, or if he's sniffing the ground, or he's looking away, you're just going to change direction. And don't wait for him. Make sure he just kind of hits the end of the leash when you do that, because if he's not paying attention and you turn, he's going to hit the end of the leash, just like that, okay? When he gets back in position, you can mark and then reward. And ideally during this, you want to encourage him to look at you while he's in that heel position, paying attention to you, eyes on you. That really gives us that clear indication that he is paying attention to what you're doing. So if you do need to turn, he is ready to turn with you. And as you can see from this video, we're not going very far. The further we go, the more he begins to think we're going for a walk, and he can resort back to those bad habits of pulling. So we want to teach him it's not about getting to a destination, it's about staying at our side. And as long as he stays at our side, we can keep going a little bit further, but until he's ready to stay there the whole time, we're not going to go much past maybe our yard or our privacy or property. In this next clip, you'll be able to hear when I'm clicking and marking. So you want to click every time he's in the proper position, and then you feed him after you click. Try your best not to bring the food to him before you click. Try not to move your hands before you click. Alright, so in the next clip, we're going to be talking about how we introduce place. I did film it after we did a couple place sessions just to make sure we weren't going to be doing any real big problem solving. But when we start out with place, we just want to reward him just for getting up there. So we're looking to mark with our clicker when he has all four paws on the bed. We're not going to tell him to place. We're not going to, tell him any commands. We're just going to encourage him up there. The moment he gets all four paws, we're going to click. And if you notice where I'm placing the treat, I'm placing it at the front of the place bed every single time. So again, when we were talking about what the command is going to mean, it's going to mean when you hear this command, expect the treat to be here. So for this exercise, it's going to be on the front of the bed. Now if you noticed, from the first few reps to these few reps, I have switched my positions where now when he comes off the bed, he's going to be in my heel position. But I do want to always keep him on my left-hand side throughout this exercise. So if you notice, if I'm facing forward, then I'm keeping him on my left. If I'm facing towards the bed, I'm keeping him on my left. So just trying to keep that in mind, where he's always in that heel position. Now, even from here, now he's in that heel position. When he comes off the bed, this is going to be really important. We want him to come off with our left foot. So when we walk away, I'm going to step off with my left foot. Later on, when we want him to stay on the bed, we're going to step off with our right foot. So we want to make sure we really ingrain with him at this stage that left foot means you can come off the bed. We're also giving him his free command right now. Once he starts to become more familiar with the exercise, we're going to start to introduce that word place right before the first foot reaches the bed. So as that first foot is dedicated to getting up on the bed, we can mark and say, we can say place right before he gets on, and then we're going to mark when all 4 paws are on the bed.
Place. No. Place. Place. Place.
Here we're going to start to add in our first of our 3 Ds. So the 3 Ds are for when we start to do stay. So we don't actually say the word stay, but we do a place stay, a down stay, and a sit stay. That just means our dog remains in that position. The first D is going to be duration. So we want our dog to stay in that position for an extended amount of time. So that would be our duration. And what I'm doing here is when he's up there, I'm just saying the command, marking, and rewarding repetitively over and over again. The first time I usually do about 2 or 3. Maybe after that I'll do 3 or 4, making sure he keeps all 4 paws on the bed. Once he's pretty good with a fair amount of duration, at least 5 to 10 seconds, we're going to start to add in our distance. And we're going to do that using our right foot.
Place. Place. 3. Place. Place. 3.
Now it's always really important to remember that when you do say free, you want to say that before you move your foot. So you're going to say free, and then you're going to move your left foot after you've said free. Be careful about saying it at the same time. We want to make sure we say it before we step.
Place. Free. Place. 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 Place.
So the next thing we're going to start to do is we're going to start to add distance. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say the word place, and with our right foot, we're going to tap our right foot in front of the bed, return back to our heel position here, and then we're going to reward. So we're going to say place, tap with our right foot in front of the bed, return back to this starting position, and reward.
Place. Place. Place.
Just like with our free command, we want to say the word place before we move our right foot. Be careful not to move and say the word at the same time. Essentially, we're telling our dog that we're about to move, and when I move, this is what I want you to do. So if I say free, it means when I move, I want you to go with me. When I say place, it means when I move, I want you to stay here. So now we're starting to go a little bit further. We're starting to move into the front of the bed. And we're doing it very gradually. So we started with just tapping our foot, then we started taking bigger steps in front of the bed, and now we're starting to move our whole body in front of the bed. When you're practicing this at home, you will not go this fast. I am showing you these steps in a very kind of accelerated process. And when you do this at home, I want you to really take your time. Now, if he makes a mistake at this point, if he steps off the bed, the floor is lava. So the moment his paw hits the floor, you're just going to say no, and then you're going to do a leash pop. We're going to practice those during your lesson, and that way you'll be able to use those when you're practicing with him at home. So anytime we give him a command, we should expect that he knows what to do with that command, or we expect that he's going to do it. So in this instance, he knows the place bed. He knows that being on the place bed is good. So if I tell him place and he steps off before he's supposed to, I can say no, and we're going to do a leash pop. As you start to add the distance and the duration, and we're going to start to add our third D, which is going to be distraction, you're going to start to see him make more mistakes. That's when you're going to start to use those corrections. So if he makes a mistake, you're going to say no, followed by a pop, and then followed by the command, place, when he's going back up onto the bed. This is going to be applied for sit, for down, for heel, everything. But we're going to start with place because it's the easiest place for us to practice. It's a very clear definition. He's either all 4 paws on the bed or the moment one paw hits the ground, you know it's time for a correction. There's no question in your mind. So it's very easy to kind of use place as a starting point. You never want to practice corrections on the dog. You never want to set your dog up for failure. You never want to encourage him to make mistakes. If he never makes a mistake through this whole training process, that's ideal. It's never happened with a dog before. I don't expect it to happen with him. You've already seen in this video he's made a couple mistakes here or there. And that's okay. He responds very well to the corrections with a slip leash. I expect that as we start to go a bit further and he starts to get more confident and used to this, we might have to go up to a training collar. But he does respond very well. So I'm not too in a hurry to move back up to that prong collar. He's very responsive to the slip leash. So as you can see, we've gone from just initially using that first right foot just tapping in front of the bed, and we slowly and very gradually got up to where we're about at the end of the leash. So as we're starting to increase that distance, keep in mind that we want to also think about increasing our duration as well. As we start to progress, and that distance and that duration are both at a pretty decent level for basic obedience, our goal is going to be the 6-foot leash, just like where we are now, for about 5 minutes with mild distractions. So once we get up, usually I say about 30 seconds at 6 feet or so, that's when I start to introduce those distractions as well. Now the biggest distraction, I think, as you just saw there, is actually the handler. The handler is often the biggest distraction. Once we've created all of this attention and engagement with us, our dogs are paying so much attention to us, looking for cues for what to do. Now, we don't always want to have to be like statues when we're training our dog. We don't want to have to be like robots. We want it to be a very natural part of, our daily life is our dog paying attention to our obedience commands, but we don't want to have to dedicate all of our movement and motion to our dogs. So want to make sure that we are, introducing little things that we do that might be distracting later. One of the most distracting senses for our dog is actually sight. So I start with just little movement on my part, maybe some stepping around, maybe moving my hands. One of the biggest distractors for our dogs can often be kind of coming down to their level, right? What happens when we bend down for our dogs? They come in, we kiss them, we hug them, we scratch them. So the first thing I like to do for a distraction is kind of squat down a little bit. And you'll see he gets a little bit excited, but I don't push him so far that he's going to make that mistake. And that's essentially what we want. When we're starting to challenge our dog by increasing our duration, increasing our distraction, and increasing our distance, we want to push them just far enough where it does seem a little bit challenging, but where they can still be successful. That is what you're going to aim for as you continue to progress with Popeye throughout all of your training with him. Anytime you're trying to teach him something new, you want to push him just far enough where it's challenging, but not so far that he's going to make a mistake. Now, the only way to know where that is eventually is going to be occasionally to make a mistake here and there, but you know how to handle that now. You know that you're going to use that correction, you're going to say no, you're going to give him a leash pop, and you're going to remind him what he's supposed to do, and you're going to help him back into that behavior.
No.